So I had to take my earlier video down from here because it wasn't quite suitable. But the good news is the topic, which is obviously the grooming gangs, has been heavily discussed on GB News and even mentioned Tommy Robinson alerting people to this many years ago. They even showed a clip of him on Jeremy Paxman, which I think will be Newsnight on the BBC. I never thought to see that on GB News. And it's been discussed on every single show this evening. It's been discussed with Matt Goodwin, who basically did his first show on GB News tonight. I thought it was very, very good, and he doesn't pull any punches. And then Patrick Christie, he had it right throughout the show, discussing the whole topic of the Labour government, now that Jess Phillips is part of it, the Minister for Women's Rights, and making sure women have safe spaces and all the rest of the rubbish. It shows her in an earlier interview during the 2024 elections giving Rishi Sunak a hard time because he wouldn't instigate a national inquiry into the phenomenon. And yet here she is, she's now in a position where she could do that, and she's just rejected it. But the good news is that Elon Musk has got behind this, and he's mentioned it. He's referred to Tommy several times. It's now internationally known. Lots of views on Twitter with the comments that he's made. It's been covered by other news channels. So it's alive and kicking is the topic, and that's the main thing. The main thing is getting discussed, and the shortcomings of our justice system are absolutely laid bare on the international stage. Someone from Germany was talking about it on their podcast. So this is good news to think that it's being talked about, especially for the victims who must feel forgotten because it's been going on for 2 decades. This business of, the Americans see it that, the past, the point of no return with wokeism, that, it's basically being rejected, and Trump's election is a sign of that. And it all connects to the same thing, which is basically one side is trying to cancel out the other so that you've no narrative. And I think this sexual exploitation scandal, I'm careful with my wording on here because I don't want to have to take another video down. It's part of it all. It's part of what we're suffering from. But I honestly see us making headroads in everything we do, not least of all because a serving MP, I don't trust politicians, but when you look at someone like Rupert Lowe, who's come into politics from farming and being the chairman of a football club, you can hardly call him a politician. He's come in to make a difference. He gives his wage away, for God's sake. He gives it away every month to causes in his own area amongst his constituents. That's not a politician, that's a bloke trying to affect change. And he's determined. And he will be just the same with this issue, this exploitation issue, this vile exploitation issue, as he was with farming, with DEFRA. I showed you yesterday how many posts, how many emails, how many issues have been handled by one of the Reform MPs, and this is the sign of things to come. We can't change everything that's wrong with the country through politics, but it's politics is where it ends, isn't it? Because that's where the legislation's made. So we have to do something. We can't just sit back and let it roll on. Then I see Kemi Badenoch stuck her oar in. We must insist on a public inquiry. Really? You've been in power for 14 years. Why didn't you do it then? They had control. They could have done it at any time because it's a decades-old problem. Why didn't they insist on a public inquiry? They didn't. So where does the blame stop and start? Both sides of the house offering nothing on this. And, you've got to remember the numbers involved. It's thousands and thousands of young girls. It's not, the post office scandal was bad enough, and the blood scandal, which involved hundreds of people. But this is a phenomenon. This will be something that will go down in the history books. And fortunately, it's being talked about now. It should have been dealt with 15 years ago. But unfortunately, we have politicians that are too busy looking after the voter base. I can't remember his name. He used to be the MP for Rochdale. He was on tonight on Matt Goodwin's show, and he said that 2 former Labour MPs who he was associated with, he met them at a social event, at a dinner. He was the MP for Rochdale, that had the problems with this phenomenon, and the MP for Haywood, I think it was, said, oh no, don't touch it. Basically, because she'll affect your voter base. That's what it's about. They put the politics before the concerns of the people. That's not running the country. That's self-centred gravy training. That's just what we don't want. And it's what we've got in abundance. And when you think there was that, is she called Naz Shah, that told the girls to just shut up, then tried to say the tweet was an accident, telling girls who were complaining about what had been done to them to just shut up, basically making them out they were willing participants. How can you be a willing participant when you're too young to understand what you're participating in? At 12, you're too young. It's as simple as that. So anyway, I couldn't put the earlier video up. But the good news is, what smack bang wallop, it's out in the open. Just about every blogger I know, anybody with a decent social media page, has commented on it. Calvin Robinson, Lawrence Fox, Alex Phillips, J.K. Rowley, GB News, Matt Goodwin, Patrick Christie. The names go on. Elon Musk and Rupert Lowe. The thing about Rupert Lowe, to me, he brings so much credibility to any issue because he researches it, he sees the flaws in the issue, and he's so new to politics, he doesn't see why these issues cannot be challenged. We've had that many people from both sides of the House that have hushed things up because it will affect their position as an MP. They might not get enough votes. I didn't realise, but Jess Phillips, who's a Minister of Women's Rights, that not women's rights per se, but something to do with making sure women have safe spaces, and against misogyny, she only got in with a 600 vote majority. That's nothing. And so many of these Labour MPs are on such small majorities. They've already lost several seats to Islamist MPs who have stood as independents. Because unfortunately Labour have sucked up to the community so much and made themselves so dependent on their vote. The communities have strengthened, and then, like they always do, it's like the hairdresser that works for a big salon for a number of years and then leaves to go self-employed. If they go off and do their own thing, that's just what these politicians have done. They've learnt about politics through Labour, they've come through the ranks through the councils, and now they've set up on their own, basically. And that will continue. So it's really up to the British public. The power's always been in our hands, but we're too apathetic to do anything about it or even realise we have it in some cases. But I do think there'll be such a shift in 2029, just like the map of America went bright red after their election. I think you're going to see turquoise go sweeping through the country. We've nothing to lose because we know the other two parties can't offer anything. They've done nothing. Whatever Kemi Badenoch says, it's just empty words. It's just a salad, a mismatch. It's like the Scrabble bag before you've sorted your letters out. It's irrelevant because she's not going to do anything. She's just looking for something to cling on to because she's absolutely goosed herself with calling Nigel Farage for basically cheating when he wasn't. I mean, come on, she hasn't apologised yet. So moving forward, I think, the confidence in Labour as a government has plummeted. And guess what? 20 Labour councillors have resigned today. 20. What does that tell you? That tells you that people have had enough, and it doesn't matter what goes on with such a big number. Once we've decided we've had enough, we've had enough. And it's just I've been doing this since 2015, and this is the first time for a long time, especially through the miserable years of lockdown, that I've felt invigorated that this not just me doing it, everybody's joining back in the fight again, and that's a real good feeling. I can see it with your comments on the thread, I can see it on Twitter, I can see it on Facebook, and now that Twitter's an open forum, it's such a different place to be able to air your views and opinions. It's fantastic, and we've got to make hay while the sun shines, no matter what Elon Musk's long-term plan is. I'm not bothered about that. He's given us a window. You can either jump through it or stay in the burning building. I know where I'm off. Anyway, I just thought I'd do you a quick video because I had to take that other one down. I don't want to lose my channel because I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the feedback because, I know you like listening because you think I'm sort of brave doing this, but without your feedback, I could wobble and think, oh, but nobody's listening, nobody's bothered. But quite clearly you are. Your support is enormous. And I'm starting 2025 off with a real buzz about it for the work that I do. And it's not work. I'm retired. I've got time to do it. But I do put as much effort into this as if I was a paid correspondent. I do put the effort in, and I do try my best. And if I get it wrong, I'll always tell you. Anyway, have a good one.